Welcome to Best Wellness Interviews, where successful people share their attitudes on wellness and key strategies that they use for their health and well-being. I'm Kristine Best, I'm your host, and today my guest is Dr. Scott Fox. Welcome, Dr. Scott.
Thank you so much, Kristine, for the opportunity to get on the podcast and uh, tell my story, and also give as much information as I can to the audience.
It's my pleasure
Uh,
to have you here, and I'd love you to introduce yourself and tell us what or who you are, what you do.
okay, so how long have you got? So I'm Dr. Scott Fox. My last name is Fox. So I'm a registered acupuncturist and Chinese herbalist. Uh, now I have two businesses. I've got one called Sixth Sense Acupuncture. So that's basically Chinese herbal medicine and acupuncture. So I have a degree in acupuncture and I have a master's degree in Chinese herbal medicine. I've also got a second business, which is called the Healthy Habits Club. That's what you see in the background. Basically, that is all about a 10-week detox challenge. So that's more around mindset and how to change your eating habits forever. So the reason why I started, Kristine, with Chinese herbal medicine and acupuncture, well, it all comes back to, well, initially when in my teens, I started training in the Korean art of martial art called Taekwondo. And our teacher at the time, he was teaching us a bit of hand Korean acupuncture. So just like reflexology, they use the foot as a map of the body. Well, it's the same with the Koreans, but they just use the hand instead. So they use it as a map of the body. So of course we're kicking each other, punching each other, silly things we do when we're teenagers. So you get injuries. So I do some points like what he had taught us, and of course the pain would go away straight away. And if I get the flu or something like that, sinus congestion or whatever, the congestion would go much faster, or the flu would go away a lot faster after I healed myself. But the problem is this is in the 80s, and of course back then it was taboo and wasn't really talked about. So I thought I'll wait until it's more recognized, and then I'll endeavor to learn more about it. And of course, the other thing was it was very expensive, and of course, Dad knocked that one on the head really quickly. So that then in 1994, tragedy. Well, it was tragedy at the time, but it became a godsend. The reason being is because Mum passed away from a very rare type of cancer. It's called urethra cancer. So that's a urethra tube that runs at your pee-pee hole. So that they call it metastasized. That means that it spread into the kidneys, into the bladder, sorry, and then into the kidneys, and then went into the liver. Once it got into the liver, then it spread everywhere. And the more and more questions, as I was in my 20s then, and the more and more questions I asked of the doctors, the more they sort of pushed me away. They realized that they couldn't provide the answers for me. And their way of dealing with it at the time was to just ignore me, and one doctor actually said, just go away, leave me alone. So, and uh, that's when I realized that the system doesn't have all the answers, and the problem, and that the doctors don't have all the answers. They've not taught everything.
No,
So
I
then,
agree.
so then, I went on a bit of a quest, and then in 2003, I found out that they were. So this is 10 years later. I found out that they were offering acupuncture degrees, and they were actually giving hex. So I got a huge debt. That's right. And basically, that's when I started studying. So I did it part time. It took me 11 years to do the degree. And you're probably wondering, what? It took you 11 years.
Took a while.
Yeah, yeah. So that because what happened was they actually changed the curriculum twice. So once they changed it, you got a 10-year. It was a 4-year degree. You got actually 10 years to finish it, but because they changed the curriculum twice, they gave me an extra 10 years to finish it off. See.
Okay.
So, but I didn't want to wait that long. So I did it part-time initially, and then it was around about 2007, 2008. I actually went full-time. And what happened, it was all fortuitous because in 2008, I started working in a hospital as a security guard. So I'd already been a security guard in the pubs and clubs in Brisbane. And uh, I got a position, yeah, a security position in one of the hospitals, major hospital here in Brisbane. And I asked a lot of questions because I had complete access and all the information that I could get from the consults. Because we as a security guard, you can go anywhere. You can go to theatre if you want, because we're considered emergency services. And you know, over time, you become, you're working side by side with these people, so they rely on you, and you rely on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're there to support the doctors, we're there to support the nurses. So they know how important it is to have security. So we all looked after each other. So I was very uh, lucky to build those relationships with those important people in the hospital, and get information from them. And they allowed me to go and watch surgeries. Like I watched a gentleman came into emergency, had chopped his hand off in a motorcycle accident. Yeah, that's right. Don't ride motorcycles, guys. Well, motorcycles out there. What do you say?
I used to
I
ride
just
one, but I gave it
yeah,
up for the same reason. I
yeah,
didn't want
because
to
yeah, I
risk it.
just you just see so many
Mm.
accidents. Anyway, yeah, he chopped his hand off completely. They rushed him into surgery. I went and watched that, and 24 hours later, I saw him again. I watched the surgery, and I went home, had a sleep, and then came back in. And here he is. He couldn't move him completely, but he was moving his fingers.
That's
I
pretty
was like,
awesome.
I was like, wow, oh, that's pretty cool. I saw another gentleman split his for the wrong reasons, got his head caved in. He's actually had a big part of his skull was knocked out, the baseball bat, and same thing. 24 hours later, here he is sitting up in bed talking to me. He's got this big patch on his head.
I agree, Scott, that medicine can do amazing things to patch people up. But when it comes to preventative stuff, right, that's a
So yeah,
different story. And that's
correct.
really what I'd like you to say is, well, how do you like, well, actually, first of all, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about wellness generally? What are your attitudes towards it?
Yeah, so conventional medicine, don't get me wrong, very good at acute. They call it acute medicine. So
Yep.
like I just talked about, they're very good at putting it back together. But once it's chronic, so my definition of chronic is anything more than 2 weeks. If you've had a problem for more than 2 weeks, it's been there too long. It means that the brain is not doing what it's supposed to. So even if you're in hospital for 2 weeks and you're in a wheelchair, get the hell out of there. Get that wheelchair and get it out. Get out, because they're only treating you like a guinea pig.
But
They
what are your attitudes towards wellness?
oh wellness. So um yeah, they actually do their oath under that gentleman. I can't remember his name. Uh, not Socrates. I can't. Anyway,
One of the
he,
philosophers,
yeah,
obviously,
well, it
ancient
was,
Greece.
yeah, ancient Greece. Well, the doctors actually do an oath, Hippocratic, the
Yep.
Hippocratic oath,
It's hypocritic
Hippocrates.
these days a little.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
Hippocratic
Hippocrates.
was, yeah,
Yeah.
Hippocrates,
So
yeah.
he said, he was quoted in saying, let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food. And I totally
Well,
agree with that.
even Thomas Edison said, the doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the cause and prevention of disease in diet and what was the other? And it's about setting up better habits and behaviors for the future,
Yeah, yeah,
basically. Right.
Totally, definitely. And then yeah, that comes back to what are we eating? You
Yep.
need to, and that's the epiphany that I had. I was helping these people with Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Chinese medicine is just food anyway, because it's just herbs. Herbs are
Mm.
edible,
Yep.
but it's just food anyway, so it's no
Mm.
different. It's just they don't taste very nice.
Yeah. Mm.
um, so I
And some of them are more like
realized,
tonics.
yeah, yeah. So I use a powdered form, so it's dehydrated and it's easy to consume. Because that's what I found. I found people, it was very difficult to get people to boil herbs up. I did it myself. You boil herbs up and then you got to drink it and it tastes terrible. And the whole house stinks. Um, so I found that the powders is easier. But what I found was that I was doing acupuncture, getting rid of their pain. I was uh, giving them herbs, getting rid of whatever the condition is. Um, but I found that it would come back within 12 months to 24 months. The reason being because we weren't solving the cause.
Well, that's right. And that's the problem that I found when I had my practice, that I was getting clients who'd been through the traditional system and the doctors were treating the symptoms. Same with the physios, the chiros, all of them were treating symptoms and not getting rid of the cause. And so you
Yeah,
found that too. Yeah, that's
yeah. So
awesome.
it comes back to what you eat. That's why I have the Healthy Habits Club, because it all comes back to what your habits, your eating habits, and your mindset around food, because that's very important. And we're set up from the start, unfortunately, Kristine, behind the eight ball, because it's so accessible now. You can't avoid it. It's in every corner of every street. There is some sort of fast food shop
Yeah,
that's trying to sell you.
junk
Well, it's not
food,
food. It's not
junk.
food.
No, it's not.
It's not food at
And
all.
I think there should actually be laws against food that has no nutritional value.
Yeah, yeah. That but I mean, as I say, it's set up for failure. We are all set up for failure. The reason being is because from a business point of view, no, look, the doctors are only taught a certain way.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
I don't blame the doctors for this. This is above them. This is way above them.
Yes, I
They
totally agree with you that it's a
because they're in
system problem. It's a
yeah
system problem.
they get sick like us.
Mm.
They die like us.
Yeah.
They're no different. They're taught this. They're not taught about how to solve the
Prevent.
cause.
Well, to find the actual root cause.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what they're missing.
correct.
It's the way they're taught. Yeah, I know.
So that's what I say is that we're behind the eight ball from the start because like for us we're a bit older, Christine. So what I mean by that is that when we were young, we actually ate meat and three veg. There
Yeah.
was, it was
That was pretty
very
much my
rare.
diet when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we all, yeah. From the 90s, before the 90s, fast food takeaways were not that prevalent. Prior to that, it was rare to see fast. Like our family special for the week was fish and chips on a Friday.
Yeah.
The reason being is because it was cheap, number one, and mum got a night off
Hmm.
from cooking. Otherwise, we had meat and three veg every other meal. So we were lucky. But from the 90s onwards, and I'm guilty of this too, I fed this garbage to my son as well, is that we're seeing it now is that kids are eating not garbage once a week, one meal a week,
Every day.
and sometimes it's three
Yeah.
meals a day.
You've got all these energy replacement drinks. You've got, drinks that are supposedly good for you, but they're not. They're just full of sugar and they don't really have a great deal of nutritional value, even although they might say they do. And they've got other additives that they've
Yeah.
put in. They say they put vitamin C in, but vitamin C only works best with all the bioflavonoids and the synergistic ingredients that are in the whole fruit or
Correct.
vegetable, right? So
Yeah,
everybody's being fed a bunch of lies. Um, they're not taught this stuff in school. Um,
definitely,
and
definitely not.
as you said, the medical people are not really taught preventative stuff. They're taught about symptoms and treating symptoms, and really that does not get rid of the problem. And that's the sort of people you and I see, because they come to you looking for help because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
what where they've been before wasn't working. And so when you treat the symptoms, when you treat the root cause,
cause. Yeah,
the problem eases off. You may still have to treat the symptoms because they've been there a while, but if you don't get rid of the cause, you never get rid of the problem. So this is a big problem, and in our society, because it's everywhere, as you were saying, it's like it's endemic in the society and in the way the system is set up to treat people.
and this is what I'm saying is that the government have it's all by design because you're being sold to every day, not only by the ads and by the um, shops on the corners, you're also getting sold to by your kids. Now that is
Well,
really bad. What do I mean by that? They will
this is
hound you until you take them to where?
yeah, yeah, McDonald's or somewhere. But the thing is, it's about empowering parents with the right knowledge, and the
Yes.
and when they've got that knowledge, they can have the confidence to make the right decisions, and they can then guide their children, which
Yeah.
I did with my son, and he is an amazing young man. And he and his wife both eat really healthy food, and my son does most of the cooking.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
it's
But that's
about
that. But that story is
the
rare. What you just explained is very rare today.
yeah, we need to leave a legacy for our children so that they can live a healthier, happier life. Because otherwise, they're going to be bedbound. They're not going to have the freedom to live their life happy, well, with lots of vitality. So yeah, I agree. You and I are on a same kind of path. We want to help people and be more proactive. So your attitudes are proactive and preventative, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah,
Definitely.
me too.
That's why I say. That's why I do the 10-week detox challenge. It's not for 10 weeks.
But I want you to tell the
It's for the
audience
rest of your life.
now, absolutely. And this is why I want you to tell the audience what you've just done more recently, because you've lost some weight. You're looking really good now. And I want you to talk about that and the diet you had before and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So look at the guy here. Look at him. Look. See. So that was me. Uh, well, it was over 3 months ago now. So yeah, that was probably about 6 months ago. I took that photo, and you can see now I've lost weight. So I lost 10 kilos in 10 weeks. It was all come. It all came back to my mental fortitude, my mindset. I
Mhm.
had to change my mindset because you don't know until you know. So I knew everything that I needed to do. I just didn't act on. I didn't put it in practice. And now that I understand that I have to action what I say, that which is really hard because you're the practitioner and you're trying to tell people to lose weight, and you're the one who needs to lose the weight. Like it was like an epiphany when I realized. So yeah, I lost the weight because I want to be healthy. I want to lead others. I
So
want others.
it wasn't that somebody said, "Oh, you need to be on this diet," or even that you just decided to embark on it. You actually had to do
Uh,
something before that. You had to do something with
yeah,
your mindset, right?
correct. Yeah, definitely. It was a big battle within here. That's
That's
all it
right.
was.
Yep.
It was just a battle with myself. And then I realized that I needed to change the way that I thought about what I ate and also what I drank because it wasn't showing. It wasn't showing. You can see in that photo, it wasn't showing up. So now I realize now it's showing. because I changed the way that I think about food and what I drank as well.
So how do you feel compared to then and now?
Oh, so much better. If like I exercised a lot, even back then, um, but I wasn't recovering as fast. I'm recovering a lot faster now, and I'm
Do,
doing more, doing more other things as
do you
well.
feel you have more energy?
Yeah, yeah. So um, I still procrastinate, but I think we all do,
Most
right?
people do at some point or another.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
just how much you procrastinate that's going to hold you back. Yeah.
because I was a binge drinker, so I drank Friday and Saturday evenings without fail, especially Friday night. It was like it was like my reprieve. That's what I thought, and
Hmm.
I didn't know anything different. I didn't know because it was ingrained in me.
It's a
It
way of
was
life
taught.
kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
just what people do.
it was in my family culture. It was
Okay.
in my family were all drinkers.
Mm.
Um, so from an early age, I knew how to drink excessively. But I didn't do it during the week, but I did it on the weekends. But then come Sunday and Monday, I I just felt so flat. But it would take me a couple of days to recover. But I didn't realize that. I thought I was recovering fine. But then when I stopped it, like I said, you don't know what you don't know until you know. Then when I stopped drinking, that Monday was so much easier to get through. So much easier. So yes, definitely my energy has increased. I don't feel as heavy is a better way of explaining because
Well,
that's
you're
what
literally not as heavy.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that as well. But you feel like you're carrying
No,
an
I know
elephant
what
on
you
the
mean.
front.
You feel lighter. You do. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I understand.
You get out of bed and it's like this is easy.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was like, oh my gosh, that's right, I got to go for a walk.
It was more of a chore, whereas now it's like, oh,
Yeah,
you've
this
got
is
more get
easy.
up and go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easy. It's just easier,
Mm,
much easier.
absolutely. So I would like to know now how much you drink and what do you drink?
Well, actually, on the weekend, I actually had my second sitting of alcohol, but I drank equivalent to two standard drinks, and I just didn't want any more. And that's unusual. That was very unusual. I didn't feel any better. So if I don't feel any better, why am I doing it?
Mm, yeah.
So it's but that's just the fight we have with ourselves all the time. Oh yeah, you feel better because you're drinking more. So yeah,
But the thing is, people
conundrum.
just they pour you a drink and hand it to you, or
Yeah,
because that's what you used to do, or they just shout you a drink because you're in the shout, and you know, people go, but you used to drink, don't you want this? And in the same, I'll just like highlight what my family were like. Mum and Dad didn't drink a lot, but we'd have like if I came to visit my mum and dad, they'd open a bottle of wine and everybody'd have wine with their meal. And then my dad and I might have a port afterwards. But I haven't drunk for 17 years. And when I stopped drinking, I said to my parents, I don't want wine. But you always enjoyed a wine, but I don't want one now. And so they'd always put a wine glass whenever I went to visit them. And I'd say, no, you can get rid of that wine glass, put a soft drink glass there, please, and fill it with water. But you always drank with, wine with your dinner, with your father, and you had a port afterwards with your father. But I don't do that now, Mum. I don't do that now, Dad. It's like
yeah,
it was a big change to the culture of the family, and because it was just, I suppose it's like an icebreaker or a thing to do when you cheers and it's tradition, and it's uh, what do
well,
you
they do
call it?
it.
A ritual. It's kind of a ritual. You pour the wine and you
Yeah, yeah,
cheers, and so it's kind of this pattern of behavior that I wanted to break the mold because I didn't want to drink anymore. I didn't need it anymore. And so it took quite some months before my family started to put a glass there and fill it with water. I didn't even really like soft drink. I don't drink soft drink either, very rarely. But yeah, it takes a while to make people understand. And I went to a party where they said, "Oh, Kristine, what would you like to drink?" No, 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 I don't drink alcohol. Hey, 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 you guys, Kristine doesn't drink alcohol. It's like it was a big deal. Like she's
Yep.
unusual. Wow, look at Kristine. Yeah. Oh, you must. And somebody came over and said, "Oh, don't you drink alcohol? You must drink a glass of wine." No, I don't drink wine either. And I was a bit of a novelty. So they
Yeah, yeah,
come
yeah.
and find out more about me because I was different. And I tell you, I don't need alcohol. When people pour it, it smells awful. Don't like it. Don't need it. Don't want it. And you're better
Yeah.
off without it because well, even one glass of wine will change the chemicals in your brain, and your thought processes are changed. Your ability
Yeah,
to
yeah.
think more clearly has just been diminished by even one glass of alcohol. So it can also interfere with the hormones and hormonal balance in your body. So
Yes.
it's not necessarily a good thing to be doing.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I did a bit of research on this. So, um, in prior to the 1940s, the what they do is they mainly drank alcohol in the evenings. They mainly usually it was just before bed. The reason being is it helped them to relax and so they then sleep easy.
Mm.
So it wouldn't affect your day. So
Okay.
so you just slept anyway, and your liver could process the alcohol
But alcohol does interfere with your sleep as well. It interferes with a lot
overnight.
of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. So that's why they'd have one or two. See, the problem is when you have more than that, then that's when then you're putting too much pressure on the liver and the kidneys to filtrate it and get rid of it.
Well,
That's
it's
the other
also
problem.
changing the blood sugar, levels
Correct.
and your triglycerides and things like that, and that can lead to heart problems. So there
Yep.
are a lot of things that alcohol affects in your body, not just your brain and your thought processes, but yes,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of other
It's
processes and
it's
organs.
it's usually the filtering organs. They're the ones that cop it the
Well,
most.
the
So
kidneys,
the
because
kidneys and
it
liver.
helps to actually eliminate water from your system, so it
Yeah.
dehydrates you, and that causes a whole bunch of other problems.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the issue is that when they're under labor, those two organs are under labor. Then the others, it's a
Well, it affects your lymphatic system.
dominoes effect.
Yeah, it affects your lymphatic system as
Yeah,
well, which is where your garbage disposal unit is housed. So if you're not getting rid of
yeah,
dead cells and
yeah,
germs and other debris that's built up in your system, if it can't be filtered out and eliminated, it will build up and then things will go wrong with your body. So it also, your lymphatic system also houses your immune system. And so if your lymphatic
yeah,
system isn't working, not only are you building up toxins and rubbish in your body, you are also limiting or diminishing the capabilities of your immune system. So what does that do? You end up
yeah,
with disease, illness, and so on.
yeah.
So it's a vicious cycle, and it's really good that you and I are educating people about this because we're both about proactive and preventative health.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying is the it's in our face every day, and I understand from a young person's point of view, but we were lucky we didn't have that exposure at a young age, but they are, and they're seeing it every day, and then the
Mm.
next generation cops it as well.
Well, the glitzy
Because
ads are the attraction to young people. They're influenced by them.
it's totally. I saw a video. I actually sent it to some friends. It's this vending machine that spits out a pizza in 3 minutes. You go up, you
Okay.
order what you want. It's like the screen. You order it what you want, pay for it, and then in 3 minutes it spits it out. They filmed it.
Wow. It can't be
What
good
is
for
in
you.
that?
Exactly, exactly.
What is in
Yeah.
that? There's also a vending machine getting around. Apparently, it's here in Brisbane. Uh, yeah, same thing. Spits out a cup of hot chips.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been very skeptical about those things. I'm very fussy about where I buy takeaway. And if you walk past a shop and it smells like the oil's a bit off, it
Yeah,
means it's rancid and don't go anywhere near it. So, because a lot of people, a lot of shop owners who have
yeah.
deep fryers, they don't change the oils anywhere near regularly enough, and that oil becomes a poison to your body, and people don't realize that.
Oh, it already is because the problem is they use canola oil. Canola oil actually was originally used as a lubricant for like sewing machines, um, machinery. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah. So canola oil is the number one. That's what they use in, like your fish and chip shops, anything deep fried. That's what they use. And the problem is that that stuff is poison. Even before they start heating it up and
And
converting it.
multiple times, heating it
Yeah, yeah.
multiple times.
It's already a trans fat as it is. Now they're
Mm,
turning it into another trans fat. So
mm,
and of course we know what trans fats cause cancer. So
yeah.
I wonder
Yeah,
why
that's,
everyone's getting cancer.
I
I don't
wonder.
understand it.
Well, this could be also colorectal cancer is increased because they put these chemicals in red meat
Yeah,
and in preserved
processed
meats.
meats. Yeah,
Yeah,
processed meats. Yeah, yeah. That's the Cheerios are the biggest. The what are they called? The tomboys. They're called tomboys. I can't remember now. The little boys. That's it. Little boys. The Cheerios. They are. That stuff is. That is
deadly.
absolute. That yeah. That's you got an 80% increase in the risk of colon cancer.
Yeah,
Having one of those a week. One hot dog a week.
yeah. It's really
How
terrible
many
that,
people go to the football every week or go to the soccer or whatever, netball, and have a hot dog?
yeah, well, that's right. And so there should be laws to protect people from these kind of chemicals like being used in our food. I understand that, there's a problem with getting the produce, and it could be vegetables and fruit because they put them in cold storage and all that sort of stuff, so that they're available seasonally or all season, all year round, rather than just seasonally. But yeah, they put chemicals in the meat to preserve it so it lasts longer. Cryovac's good because that's a way of preserving it against
Yeah,
oxidizing.
oxidation.
So there are methods that they could use to where they don't have to use chemicals and food colorings and things like that are not meant to be in our bodies. Um, it's a
Yeah,
big concern, and I'd like to see some things done about, eliminating those things from our food chain. And then
at
and
least
then
at least
yeah,
inform the general public. They're not
so that they
informing.
can keep those foods to a minimum and just concentrate on, fresh, healthy sort of
Yeah,
other options and non-meat options and things like that. So yeah, people need to be educated, and this information is not as readily available as I would like, and obviously not as readily available as you would like, although now
yeah, it's getting better.
we're part of the solution.
Yeah, people are starting to wake up. They're starting to realize
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
they're being taken down the garden path and fed rubbish. And yeah, there's a guy called uh, Callie Callan Means Callan Means. He's on X, and he has a wonderful saying. He's he says that the if the fish tank is dirty, the fish tank is filthy. You don't drug the fish.
Mm, right.
So in other words, he's saying the
Yeah,
system
well,
is
that's right. You would clean the tank.
you clean the tank, you don't drug the fish,
Yeah, that's
and that's
well,
what's happening.
that's exactly.
That's
I agree. I agree.
they're dirtying the tank by
Mm,
feeding us garbage, 3 minute pizzas.
Then you get a
And then,
drug, and you need another drug to counteract the side effects, and then you need
yeah,
another drug. Yeah.
then
So
their answer to fix that is
drugs.
to drug you.
And who wins in that scenario?
Well, yeah, yeah. And as I
Certainly
said,
the
it's
people
above
in
the
the public
doctors.
don't. Mm.
It's above the doctors. The
Yeah, I
doctors
know
are
that. Yeah.
they're only taught two things. They're only taught two things. It's medicate you and surgery.
Yeah,
It's the only two things they have to offer.
that's right.
When it gets right down to it, and if you want nutritional advice, they refer you to someone.
Well, that's right.
It's usually it's a nutritionist
That's if
or
they refer you.
a dietitian. Yes, that's another problem. Or they Google it.
Mm. Well, Google's not
Oh yeah,
always
I've
exactly
had
correct.
I don't go to GPs, but I've got plenty of patients that go to the GP and say the GP was Googling what was wrong with
Yeah.
them. Okay.
Well, they can't know everything, and people are coming up with weird and wonderful problems these days because of what's happening with the food and also mental health, and that affects your physical. There are so many things that are wrong in society that need to be fixed. And then
Oh yeah.
if those things are fixed, the people will be fixed.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
And
Totally.
all these people who are not as productive, they're not as healthy, they're clogging up the system unnecessarily. If we can just reverse that,
Yeah.
everything will run much more smoothly and everybody will be more productive. They won't have the mental health problems. They'll be physically well and
You read my
happy, and
mind.
our society will be just wonderful. That's my
You read my mind.
utopia.
Yeah. That's there was it happens every now and then. They'll come out with the mainstream media will come out with a story about how there's ramping at the hospitals and they don't have enough staff and blah blah blah. I worked in the belly of the beast, so I saw what they get up to, and I'm telling you right now, ramping will never stop. The reason being is because they are not changing the way that people eat or exercise.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
this is gonna increase. Why? Because they're telling them to eat the wrong things. They're not telling them to exercise, and they're telling them to go and see their doctor if there's a problem. Now, you've got someone with a chronic mental health issue who's well, close to being homeless, or they have got um, meager accommodation, they will go to the hospital at the drop of a hat. When they feel that they don't feel well or whatever, or the drugs aren't working, because that's what they do. They uh, was it a one 30-year veteran nurse told me once from mental health, we inject and eject.
Ah, that's quite a good scenario, like a description as well. Yeah, very good.
And then it's a revolving door. So every 24 hours they're back. I saw it firsthand. That's
Mm.
how I know. And if you ask any mental health nurse, it's the same deal. Emergency nurses, you ask the same question. They'll say, oh yeah, we'll see them. Majority of our mental health patients we see every 24 hours. They're back in here.
The mental health system is sadly very lacking. And I know a few people who have used the system, and I've heard their stories. And uh, I've had firsthand experience of a man who came to my clinic to be treated, and I found out, not that he told me this, somebody else who knew him and knew me told me. They said that he had tried to commit suicide, and that this woman had come home uh, from work and there was blood coming out from under her garage. What a horrific
Sight, yeah.
scene, right? So she's opened the garage, and here's her next door neighbor in her garage had slit his wrists. So he was taken to hospital, and after a certain amount of time, he was let out. And within a year, there'd been no follow-up, and he'd hung himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he had said to me that he'd thought of suiciding. I said, listen, I don't want you to do that. I want you to come here and talk to me. You can always talk to me. You can find someone to talk to. And he goes, oh, I've been here and I've been there and nobody's helping me and nobody's listening to me. So anyway, he's obviously his problem got so bad. He didn't actually come back to me, which I'm very sad about. But I didn't know his past history. If I'd have known his past history, I would have rung the authorities or somebody that could do something. But you know, if somebody wants to commit suicide, they will, and there's nothing that, well, there's not a great deal you can do to stop them if they're going to do it. And I know other people who've had their children commit suicide. So, there are known syndromes, but the system doesn't. They didn't even inform the parents of one child who'd committed suicide. They didn't tell them there's a syndrome that, a person with mental health problems can turn around and suddenly be very happy. And that's because they've decided they're going to kill themselves in a different way, right? And so the parents think that child might be better, but they're not. They've actually decided they're going to kill themselves by whatever means they've decided to do it. And that's why they're happy.
And
It's,
this is what
it's a sad thing.
this is what I was trying to say before, is that veteran nurse, she nailed it. They give them medication, they hope that it works, something may stick, hopefully, and then we'll send them home. And
So they're
hopefully they
obviously
don't
not, they're
and they
obviously,
hopefully don't kill themselves.
yeah, they're obviously not treating the root cause of why these
Yes,
people have this
correct.
mental health problem. They give them a drug and it's not the answer. There's another reason why it's not. They might have a chemical imbalance, but that's not necessarily the cause. The cause could be mental processes. But if they solve a problem that they have in their mind or a past issue that they're carrying that's clogging up their mind, that will then change their thinking patterns. They'll feel better because there's hope. There's an answer to their problem, right? And if that happens, their mental illness dissipates and their hormonal balance comes back. And if they were walking, that helps to normalize their hormones. Doing exercise and eating right is helping to promote the right balance in the body, which helps their thought processes. And so improving their thought processes and the patterns of thinking that they're in is more an answer than a drug. And so there are
Well,
natural remedies.
that's what I was trying to say before, is that if they taught them how to eat properly and they taught them to exercise regularly,
Hmm.
80% of those mental health cases will go away. And the other
Yeah.
thing is we've got to clean up the streets. The streets are full of drugs. And I know the pollies are, oh no, it's not as bad as it's terrible.
Yeah,
It's in our
Scott,
face.
that's a whole other can of
Yeah.
worms. So
Well,
let's not go there because we'd be here till midday.
all right.
So my next question for you is, do you have any greater than you projects that you work on or charities that you might contribute to or anything
Yeah, so
along those lines?
there's two other ladies I'm working with at the moment called Nicole Yates and Amy Livingston. So we're working together to help NDIS recipients. Um, well, the government calls them participants. So I call them recipients because that's what they do. They receive they're not participating as far as I can see, and they're receiving. And also their carers. So we're targeting both the NDIS recipients and also the carers. We want to help them to alleviate their empower them, give them information on anxiety, because we did some research and we found out that anxiety within the NDIS space, whether it be a carer, coordinator, or recipient, we found that it actually increased 1,300%.
Wow.
The recorded cases
Mm.
just within that field, 1,300%
Yeah,
over
that's
the
pretty
over the last
horrific.
3 years. Over the last
Yeah.
3 years. Yeah.
There are a lot of jobs that are very stressful, and I would imagine people who are ambulance officers and first responders to accidents that would be pretty traumatic as well. So there are
Yeah.
certain jobs, yeah, that are stressful, and looking after people who are not well that's challenging. And when you're surrounded by that every day, it can affect, a lot of people can be affected by that because they can't debrief at the end of the day. So it builds up over a period of time. All right. Well, that's awesome that you're doing that. And when you contribute to this project, how does that make you feel?
Well, giving that information to the people that are just being drugged, just like the fish, is fantastic. That feels great because if they can take home, if I can get one person to go home and be able to manage their anxiety without taking the drug, oh, that's a godsend. For me, it's crazy that I'm saying that right now, but that's the way it is, unfortunately.
Well, if you can help someone without invasive means, without drugs, hasn't that got to be better?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't sound right, does it? But that's the
Well, it
way
does to
come.
me. I think that's fantastic. Natural remedies work, and sometimes a lot of conditions that people have don't necessarily need drugs or an operation or anything. They can be fixed by non-invasive means.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them information on how they can go home and help themselves
Yeah,
without taking anything at all. And it's all uh, self-automated, basically.
you're
Just
empowering people to
yeah,
take care of their own wellness, and that's exactly what I
yeah,
do.
take empowering them. Yes,
My motto for my organization is I empower you to be master of your wellness journey.
that's awesome. That's
And that's
if
my
we could
aim
we
in
could do
life.
that if we could do that to 20% of the population, there'd be so many.
Well, you unclog the health system, and the people who
Well, yeah,
really need operations can get them, or
yep,
who need patching up for an accident that they might have had. You know what I mean? So it just means that everything works more efficiently and effectively.
yeah, correct. And yeah, see, and the good thing about what Amy and Nicole and I are doing is that those people can go and teach other people as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So we're not only giving fish, we're also teaching them how to give the fish.
yeah. So
So then
the
they can teach others.
the way I see it is that I'm not scared to give someone the power to look after themselves, because I know there's always going to be somebody who needs my help. I'll always have business, and those people that I've helped will refer somebody anyway. So, it's not about trying to keep someone coming back and you feed them a little bit of information and you keep them coming back forever. That's not what it's about. I want them to
Yeah,
be free to only come to me from time to time when they need me again, when something else pops up in their life.
it's
But I
usually
want them
something else.
fixed from, well, yeah, it could be something else, but you've helped them with that issue that they were dealing with initially. And I think that's just the ethical way to deal with it. It's ethical, it is humane, it is it's on so many levels so positive, you
Yeah.
know, than the alternative.
Yes, totally agree. Totally agree.
So
So
with
yeah,
that, I think we'll wind this interview up. It's been pretty amazing. We've traveled a lot of ground and covered a
mind
lot
right.
of issues, and but they're really good issues and things that
Yeah.
people need to have conversations about them. They
Yes,
need
correct.
to be aware of these things, and so that's great. I really appreciate you coming on to my best wellness interviews. Thank you
Appreciate
very
it,
much.
Kristine. Like I said, thank you very much for the opportunity. These are issues that we all need to talk about, and I hope that you give someone 5 cents, hopefully they can give $1 to someone else. Appreciate it.
So maybe you and I can collaborate down the track.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. Always open to collaborations. Of course,
Cool.
Kristine. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Dr. Scott. And I'll put your details at the end of this
Yep.
interview.
Yeah. For the end of the podcast. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye.